some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
And you're listening to the supplementary episode for Bonfireside Chat, the extra-sode for it, an Undead second favorite.
Yes. An Undead, meh. Yes. This Appendix episode is dedicated to our discussion of the Undead Burg.
Right.
Yes.
So in these, they're going to operate a little differently than the extra-sodes and Watch Out for Fireballs, which are essentially deleted scenes. So for the Bonfireside Chat, there will be some deleted scenes, but because we have guests and because we, a lot of them are very busy and we're trying to be very respectful of their time, we go on fewer digressions, and the audience but we wanted to keep the audience participation part of the show. So this is kind of the way that we figured out to do that. So this is your chance to sound off about the various areas that we talk about.
Yeah. So we put out the call to Facebook and just in general, if you would like to get in touch with us about a particular area, just contact the Duckfeed.tv/contact page. Just any way that you can scream into the void and have us hear about the area that we're going to be talking about. We will include it in these appendices.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And at the end of this, we'll announce what we're doing next. So just we think that the section will probably grow as people know that we're doing it. So
yes.
Yeah,
because we didn't expect people to like the show as much as they did. So
and this was it's an evolving thing. So we didn't plan necessarily to do this, but we like having something come out every week. We wanted to keep the audience participation part, and this seemed like the best of all possible worlds for that. So I'll go ahead and get us started off with Lewis, and we were asking specifically about what your memories or stories from the Undead Burg. Mm-hmm. And Lewis says, "Hey guys, when I first played through this area, I had chosen a knight, and my movement was really slow. So I get all the way to under the bridge where the wyvern/drake is, and someone invaded my world. This is the first time I'm playing Dark Souls, so I'm scared out of my mind, and I quickly run back and try to get to the bonfire. But the bonfire shortcut was blocked by a fog wall. So there I was, scared shitless, about to enter my first PvP encounter. Suffice to say, the dude was stacked. I can't remember what armor he had, but I was basically doing 10 damage, and he was using spells, like Force. I take the battle under the bridge, and he hits me for half health, and that is when I saw him close to the edge. Quickly, I get up to him and kick him off the ledge, killing him instantly, and I got like 20,000 souls. He wrote 4 zeros down here, so I wonder if he got 20,000, or there's a comma. It could be 200,000.
No, it would have to be 20.
Yeah, 20. But that's what I knew. Yeah.
Even that doesn't make sense because you get half of what it would take for them to level up. So like 40,000 souls, that would put them in about 60 soul levels. So he would have to be at least 50 in this area. Oh God, we are through the looking glass, Gary.
Who knows? But this is when I knew that Dark Souls was the best game, and that is my story of the Undead Burg.
Yeah, anybody that you find doing PvP in the Burg or the Parish, they are there to gank you, and they have been to parts unknown to gather equipment that is way, way beyond what you could ever hope to get right now. So the fact that you beat him speaks volumes.
Yeah, that's awesome that you managed to do that. It was probably a huge boost. You're able to power up a lot there. He didn't participate in this, but on the Something Awful board, Bob Mackey told a story. Yep. That is bone-chilling about how I guess there's a big hacking element in the Burg.
Yep.
And people are hacking their weapons to have curse and egg parasite status.
Jesus Lord.
So getting right into the Burg and getting those two statuses right off the bat. Just thinking about invasions in the Burg, that sounds fucking terrible.
Man, you have no way to cope with that.
No, that's terrible, and that's pure trolling. That's just why this game inspires people to want other people to play it. Why would you want to do things that are this is going to make this person give up the game?
Yeah, it is. It is man. I don't know why I draw that line between things that I can get as a soul level 1 character. Just kind of okay, I earned this by knowing this game well enough, et cetera, whatnot. But then hacking it, that just seems like dirty pool.
Yeah, it 100% is. Like,
Yeah.
it's a garbage tactic.
Yeah. No,
Don't
fuck
do
you
it.
if you did that. Don't listen to our
Yeah.
show if you do
Yeah,
that.
fucking hackers.
Meh.
But yeah, good on you, Lewis.
Yes.
That's an excellent story.
Bravo to you, sir. Yep, I'll do the next one. All of these that follow are from Facebook, which is facebook.com/bonfireside chat, all one word. URLs do not work any other way. Nick says, my favorite place for PvP. Second character I made was kept at soul level 1 with as much overpowered gear as possible to troll the troll invaders. Good times.
In no way were we just that. So we didn't read that before we just went on a big diatribe about
we didn't.
how dicky it is to
no.
do this.
So no, Nick, definitely, like, we still appreciate you. We want you to listen. What you're doing, like, so you over level. Right. This is what I'm gathering. I'm trying to justify what you're doing. You over level and you turn human and you wait around in the burg and the parish. Right. So that when somebody tries to invade, they have a chance of invading you, who are prepared for what they're going to bring, right? So that they don't hit somebody who just has their starting gear and is, wide-eyed and ready to experience the world.
Yeah, so I'm reading it differently now. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. You're trolling the trolls.
Yes.
So that's excellent. So that is good work on you, Nick.
You're doing God's work.
Mm-hmm.
And since that one was short, do you want me to do Amy's?
Yeah, go ahead and read Amy's.
Yeah. So when I first bought the game from GameStop after I got to Firelink, I couldn't proceed because my disc was fucked. I went back to exchange it, and the clerk gave me a very patronizing, "Did you try it? It's really, really hard." As a gamer girl or whatever, I have to put up with a lot of stuff like this over the years. I explained that no, the disc was actually scratched. After getting a replacement, I told my BFF who got me into Dark Souls. So a week or so later, I'd put down the game because I was being totally crushed by the Taurus demon and felt like the game might not be for me. My friend said to me, "Seriously, are you going to let that GameStop fuck be right? Are you going to let that GameStop fuck be right?" Repetition mine. And thus I kicked the Taurus demon's ass. I knew that no boss or encounter, no matter how frustrating, was going to stop me from beating this game. And I'm still in Anne Orlando, but I've been progressing.
I love that story.
Yeah.
Like, I saw that on Facebook. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
What a dickhead.
Yeah.
Fuck you, GameStop.
Okay. So as somebody who was a GameStop employee less than a year ago, when I got turned on to this game, I started recommending it to people. Like, because that's like one of the few gratifying parts of that job, right? Somebody comes in and when they ask you for your opinion, it's great. I have, at least, 8 or 10 podcasts that are dedicated towards sharing my opinion about games, but I get to see their faces when I say it and they come back and say, right? So I would recommend this game to people no matter what, really. If they were asking, "Hey, what's this thing?" I would say, "Hey, here's this, awesome game. It's a little bit difficult, but it's definitely surmountable. And it's one of the best games I've played in years, honestly. So give it a shot." And then when, people would come back in, I would say, like, "Okay, here's what you want to do. Here's how you're going to succeed, et cetera, et cetera." So I use that lowly, undignified position as an opportunity to coach people and get them, acquainted with the game and give them the tips for success. So not everybody in that position is a totally patronizing, misogynistic fuck like this dude is. But sometimes we can work for good.
That guy was a ganker, and you were a Nick in the world of GameStop.
Yes.
GameStop Burg. I like that story too, because it's like something I would never have to. I'm privileged enough to not have to deal with that. But I just like reading it. I was just infuriating. So it's just like, oh, that would piss me off. And I'm glad that you surmounted it and summoned help for the boss fight in Anne Orlando, because it's meant to be. No shame in it.
Yeah, definitely. Rats off to you for persevering.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam, friend of the show, he says, "I still have really fond memories of the hike up to the first bonfire in the Burg, even though I think I was crap enough at the game that it took me a whole evening of playing to get there. And even now, that uphill run to the aqueduct feels like a major trek, even though I can do it in about 30 seconds. Also, the Drake Bridge is a perfect example of the game taking you from, haha, look at that horrible demon, I destroyed your face and now I'm besties with this sun dude, to sobbing over Drakes, and how you have to crawl through the underside of a bridge because you aren't strong enough to fight. Yep. That is excellent. Like that nice like little narrative bit that like you have to actually hide out from this thing.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that in the game, but like if you can beat this thing, you can walk proudly in full view of the sun, right? Like you don't have to encounter those rats at all.
Mm-hmm.
But since you can't, and because that boss encounter is broken, you have to, it's kind of like the regular door in Mr. Burns' office, or the chute for supplicants, right?
Yeah. and I hate going onto that bridge because you have to like edge around those ledges where you might fall off. You have to fight a spear guy on like a tiny ledge, and then you have to climb like a 7,000-foot ladder.
Yeah, basically like Metal Gear Solid 3 level of ladder. Yeah,
it's like this game, like you're doing something right when you can go down ladders. When you have to crawl up gigantic ladders, like something is wrong.
Uh-huh.
Like you're going like, and that's not, I don't have every example in the game for that, but I know that like knowing the game really well, I will change my my pattern of attacking areas because I don't want to climb really long ladders.
Yeah.
It is the worst.
Well, you can like slide down those ladders,
Oh yeah. Like sliding, perfect, but like the climbing up them takes forever.
Yeah.
So,
Jeremy from Facebook says, it took me close to 7 hours to finally kill the Taurus demon. Looking back, I have no idea what I was doing to take that long. Every single enemy between the bonfire and the boss gate was a huge challenge, and I didn't understand how to kindle, so I only had 5 Estus flasks, and invariably needed at least 1 or 2 before I even hit the boss. The feeling of finally killing him was so amazing. And then 10 minutes later, I'm roasted to a crisp by a dragon. That was the first time I understood the real Dark Souls starts here, which is a meme that comes up, and it's totally salient. That's just my comment. Many, many hours later, I went into a new game plus. That's the second new game plus, and used various tricks to unlock the most of the game while leaving the Taurus alive, mainly so I could be invaded in the Burg. This was with my sorcerer, who was equipped with various items to make offensive magic more powerful. I see the fog walls go up, so I use Chameleon to turn into a barrel and hang out in a corner. Sure enough, the invader spawns in and immediately runs by, completely ignoring me. That's when I used a soul spear, hitting him in the back and killing him instantly. A few minutes later, and he sends me a message, which I expected to be absolutely horrible. Instead, he told me that this 5-year-old was watching him play and hadn't been able to stop laughing. The thought of that little dude laughing at this dad, getting speared in the back, still makes me smile.
Cool. During that last sentence, you read every his as this. It sounds like, so it sounded like there's this 5-year-old watching, and this little dude was laughing at this dad. And just like without having the relationship at all.
I'm so sorry.
It's funny. It's just.
Is it? I'll reread it.
No, don't reread it.
Okay.
It's funny. It's funny.
Okay. I need to fucking wear my glasses for this shit. I don't know.
Go ahead.
The messages that you get from invaders and people that you co-op, they're great because you don't have any interaction with these people, right?
Right. And I'm going to talk about those as they come up. What my memorable experiences with that. With Sexy Party Solaire, when I was using him, I just thanked people for it and then had them, so I just, if they invaded, I'm like, thank you for invading Sexy Party Solaire. Please consider me for your next invasion. And then if I fought a boss with them, I was like, thank you for summoning Sexy Party Solaire. Please consider me for your next boss fight. And just sent out those, and no one ever responded, which was really disappointing because I was like, this is real fun. But one guy sent me a thing that said, whip forever or something like that. And that was nice. Man, I can't wait until my sorcerer that I'm doing for the show gets far enough to get Chameleon. That spell seems so fucking rad.
Like for me, it seems so ineffective too, because like I memorize every single thing that's in the world. So I would like to think that I would notice something that is out of place like that. Like I remember there being 5 barrels here. Oh fuck, I'm dead. Yeah.
People usually don't. Like I watched a lot of griefing and PvP videos, and people usually don't. Because I mean, it's all about placement. It's all about hiding in plain sight with that.
Yeah. Which is amazing. I mean, that's like a spy in Team Fortress 2 or a spy party thing. Just like anything or Assassin's Creed multiplayer, pretending to be part of the scenery so you can be ignored safely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Will, also a friend of the show, he says, scary experiences, my first time in the Undead Burg. Well, walking up behind the Black Knight and having him suddenly turn around was a big one.
Yeah.
With him in hot pursuit, I ran like a scared little kid to an open area and turned to face him. You can guess how that turned out. Just real quick, that area is really deceptive because if you run left, you end up near a ledge.
Yeah.
And that I can see that being really, really excellently terrifying.
Yeah.
Fast forward to a week ago when I baited him out and lured him into an open area. After ducking, sidestepping, rolling, and making him look like a general idiot, I backstabbed him until he went down. The progression you see in your skills is the coolest part of the game. What's better is the game forces you to retrace your steps through easier areas several times so you can see the progression yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's true. And there's one very specific area of the game I think is 100% about that.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we will. That's something we didn't talk about in the main episode, but the fact that the Black Knight is facing the other direction, I think that's huge because it lends to his ominousness.
They always do, or they almost always do. The next one you face is facing away from you too.
Huh.
When you get up to the top of the tower. And they don't always almost, but the next one you do as well.
Yeah.
And you can't backstab them. I've never been able to backstab them before they turn around. So it's just kind of a bit of a trap.
Yeah.
There. But it's amazing how easy that enemy gets when you figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, like once you know how to backstab this guy, like he was such a huge pain in the ass, and like learning how to backstab and circle guys like just makes these guys into a joke. So I think that's what Will is picking up on here.
Yeah. They trade exclusively in overly large weapons, and even if they are fast as fuck, if you're not expecting them, you can definitely manage their reach in such a way. So, yep.
Something crazy. So on that first bridge that you cross, leaving the first bonfire in the Burg, there's a shortcut down to the Black Knight from that bridge. You can dive off that bridge onto that ledge where the ring is. Yeah,
and that's a great way to do a suicide run.
Yeah, well, and it's really hard to do it. So you want to it took me, I was doing it yesterday and it took me, I don't know, like 8 tries to actually make the landing.
Yeah, that's a useful ring too. Is that the red tear stone or the blue tear stone?
It's the blue tear stone. I have to disagree. I think when I first texted you about him, you said like, "Oh, the knight's guarding a really good ring," but
yeah,
by the time it activates, I get one hitted anyway.
Yeah,
like it doesn't increase your defense until you're less than 20%.
Yeah,
like it would have been good if it was less than 50% or less than 30%. Maybe it would work. But
so I was confusing that for the red tear stone ring, which actually is really useful. But
yeah.
So time makes fools of us all.
No problem there.
Yeah.
So.
Chad says the absolutely scariest experience in the Burg is exploring the tower before the Taurus demon. My first character was a thief, so I'm fast rolling with my dagger and tiny shield as I trot down the steps, only to get one-shotted by Havel. What a badass.
I was disappointed. I thought we weren't going to get any Havel stories, but so I'm glad this one came in.
Man, nobody says anything about a dildo. Fuck.
It says more about you, I'm telling you. In the actual episode that everyone listened to last week, there's a funny, like, I like Havel a lot, and there's like a funny bit like where we're talking, and I'm like, now back to Havel, and I say it like both you guys like jump in at the same time, and it's fine. I'm not calling you out for it, but like I'm just really eager to get back to Havel. Like,
no, it's good. He's a wonderful enemy.
Love that Havel.
And it seems like he exists. So it seems like he exists solely to punish people who have the master key. Because if you come at him from the other side, you have the potential to have like geared up enough to be able to deal with them. You know,
if you're a knight, you can survive one hit from him as well.
Really?
Like knight armor with your shield up, you can barely survive one hit.
I thought it was like one of those videos of somebody like trying to survive a mimic encounter.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like apparently if you match the triggers when a mimic hits you, you can reduce the damage. So like somebody so somebody gearing up. I thought that was just like a fluke, but just like if you are a knight, like fresh from the asylum, you can survive one hit from him.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
And I've survived a mimic encounter. I probably flailed a little bit because I was freaking out.
Yeah.
But I've survived a mimic. I mean, and that implies, I've talked about getting killed by the first mimic I run into, and that implies that I've gotten fooled by 2 mimics, which is nothing to be proud of. So you can tell I'm not lying. So, but I have survived a mimic. God, do I love the design on the mimics?
Yeah.
Like the way that their tongue is part of their body.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks like it's the same texture as their torso.
Yeah.
It's coming up through the chest. Holy shit.
Those fucking snaggle teeth, man.
Yeah, I mean, we'll and the noises they make.
Yep.
We'll talk about that. That's the one of the first, like, there's a couple enemies that have, like, really excellent sound design decisions, and that's, there aren't tons of them, but that's one of them. The other one being the fucking, all spoiler things are off in the extra sodes. The chaos things in Lost Isla.
Yep.
Like, make that, like, little noise. I love those fucking things.
Yeah. And even if you haven't gotten there yet, you will forget about it by right now.
There's a thing that makes a cool noise.
Yep. So you will be so the joy of that is you will now be listening just a little bit closer than if you had before.
Maybe you'll have a cool moment where like you walk to the end of a hallway and then you're like, wait a minute, that's a cool noise, and then you turn around and then manage to catch this thing before it fucks you up.
Yeah.
Watch out for cool noises.
Yes. So thank you, everybody, for participating in this discussion. If you have experiences in the Undead Parish, which I'm sure a lot of people do because those gargoyles are son of a bitches.
Or the Lower Burg.
Yes.
Which, again,
which that Capra Demon is a son of a bitch. Is.
Yeah, we just want to read variations on people getting killed by Capra, like just over. I'm not being sarcastic. Like I want to read like 15 tales of Capra fucking people up. So
let's do a super cut of that, and we need your participation to do that. So either Duckfeed.tv/contact or the Facebook group where we will put up a discussion topic where you can let us have it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's about it for the audience participation point. So here is a little bit of, like I said, we don't have quite as many digressions as we do in Watch Out for Fireballs, but here is the stuff that did not quite make the cut.
Praise the sun.
Praise the sun.
Real quick, what's the profanity policy?
We are
welcome
fine.
all of it.
Yes.
If you can
so you're not trying to avoid an explicit tag or something.
Nope.
It's when I guest on stuff, I tend to be a lot more reserved than I am on my own stuff, just because I'm a little more nervous about it. So there's less of that. But yeah, I was just curious as to whether I needed to be super careful. I mean, I guess it's not going out live, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway.
If you like express feelings about the supremacy of the white race, we can edit that out for you.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That actually gets worse when I'm talking.
We're so good at editing, Zach, that we will make those we'll make those statements sound like they're about Dark Souls.
Yes.
So you go on whatever racist rants you want, and we'll fix it in post. So fuck. Like we'll drop a couple of those to make you feel at home. I know that you played for about 7 hours, but where did you leave off geographically?
I in the hour or so that I played between work and talking to you guys, I beat the boar demon, and I am trying to get to the bonfire in the parish.
Yes.
Is where I'm at now. And I made it out to. I went out and I killed one of those knight guys with the like sort of ragged cloth on them, and got out and got the knight shield out on that parapet, and then my computer crashed, and so it reset me to just before that. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's what I'm gonna do next is try and do that again.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one point where I do kind of feel like the game is not being particularly responsible with my time, because I don't to experimentally poke forward into the parish to try to find the bonfire requires me to fight those guys on the bridge, which whatever, they're not that hard. They're not things that you haven't done before, but still like one time out of every 6 or 7, I will just accidentally jump off the bridge trying to attack the spearmen out on the edge. And then like screwing around, killing those 3 stupid rats is not hard. It's just tedious to do it without getting poisoned. And if you get poisoned, it's like, just gotta remember to drink a potion every few seconds. And then I really wish that there was a bonfire closer to the entrance of the parish so that this like just rote stuff wasn't like making me so angry every time I got to the point where I was actually having fun, which is like going and fighting new enemies and you know,
Right.
trying to eke out some distance into this new environment.
I feel like most areas have a bonfire closer to the beginning.
Yeah.
Not all areas. There are a couple of real notable exceptions, and they're real pains in the dick. But for the most part, you know, there is a bonfire, you know, starting you out in the area, and this is an exception to that. So I definitely understand that frustration.
Yeah.
I think I'm fairly close though. Or I might. Do
Yeah.
I have to beat another boss before I get to a gargoyle?
Nope.
Sorry. Do I have to beat a gargoyle before I get to a bonfire?
No.
Okay.
No. And if you make a run for it, it's actually a really viable strategy to get there. You just have to make sure that you are always going right.
Yeah, have nothing to lose. Like have no soul balance, and then just take a couple of runs where you just try to run past everything, and you can luck out.
Okay. So do you not have to go at, like, all the ladders? There's the one section with just zombies and ladders and zombies and ladders and zombies. Is that not on the way to the bonfire?
It is.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And sadly, there's a way to bypass that, but you only get one shot at it,
Yeah.
which kind of sucks. Like you can run under that gate before they slam it shut, but you only get one chance. And
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
that-
there in the way.
When I got there, my first instinct, like the first time I got into that area, my first instinct was, oh, I need to get the boar to charge me so that he will break the gate. Right, because it's like a video game. Of course that's what you have to do, right? You know, and there's stuff on the other side of the gate and I can see it. I apparently from looking at what is weird is that as simple as these maps get in your head, it is pretty hard to project them apparently, because every map that I've looked at of this area on the internet is just completely bewildering to me.
Yep. I have the Future Press strategy guide, and it might as well just be hieroglyphics. I don't even know. Those maps, they're not useful at all, especially because of how stuff doubles back and how there are multiple levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am really hoping to be able to like stick with this and play along with you guys as you do this show, because this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's excellent. If we, you know, having a hand in getting you into the game is, you know, I'm really happy that we're able to do it.
Yeah.
It is really, it's like you say, you know, it's the like recess game, you know, where you are calling your friends when you figure out what one of the interface elements means, and that becomes like a revelation in your play style or whatever. And it's like, you almost kind of feel like, oh, it's really cool that they managed to create this thing. But then the grown-up part of you is like, God, just write a fucking manual. What is wrong with you?
We wouldn't
Like,
put up
why
with
do
this
we
shit
have to
from a
discover
printer.
these basic things? Yeah, it's like...
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I just like to me, I always go back to the fact that like the wiki is sanctioned by the devs. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also, I mean, there's a little bit of it, and this is kind of a cop-out, but when you do stumble upon something, it's great.
Mhm.
Like the times when you actually, you know, do figure something out, and there are a lot of things I wasn't able to figure out on my own, but the times I did, like, so, for example, and we might end up cutting this out and putting in the next episode because it's about the next area, but just, so that boar, like, when I figured out, so he's really tough, and he's really resistant to fire, and if you're not a pyromancer, he's really hard to kill. But you get an item called an alluring skull, and the one of the things you can do is there are all these kind of open fire pits in that area, and that's not an accident. Like if you throw the skull into the fire pits, the boar will chase them, and you can kill him that way. And like I felt like a super genius when I figured that out. Like I tried 1,000 times just meleeing this guy with my really low poise character who kept getting his endurance broken and getting gored, and figuring out this alternate use for the items like made me feel amazing. You know, so
Yeah, I
having
assumed when they gave you those that you were just supposed to lure him out where you could do a jump attack on him and just sort of give you a head start at killing him. But
yeah, you can throw them into the fire, and it just you know, if I had like a manual that said like alluring skull, try luring enemies into hazards, you know, it would have been, you know, that would have been ruined for me a little bit. Like it's a little bit of a cop out, and the game is extremely, you know, kind of obscure in that way and obtuse. But when you do figure something out, it, you know, it's a really, really kind of a feeling you can't beat.
You have to feel bad for people who reviewed this game. Like I wonder, like the manual that we would have wanted would be the reviewer's guide to it. You know, So I don't know. Maybe they didn't have that. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, those particular little things, like you find items later on that like they're like, why would I ever use this? It's like the items in Final Fantasy VII that casted like, you know, Thunder 2 or Thundara or whatever. Like why would I have that? But they have legitimate uses that you wouldn't be able to discern, because it seems like using them would be a waste of time.
Right, like Lloyd's talismans.
That is specifically what I was referring to, actually. So I don't know. So that's the Undead Burg.
I mean, they've clearly done something right, you know. I mean, it really makes me feel good about the world that this game is popular and has sold well.
Yeah,
me too.
You know?
And something I haven't done yet, and is like go back to an action adventure game that is, you know, not of this ilk. Like I haven't played like a God of War since this, and I wonder if it'll still. I mean, they're very different games. I understand that, and I'm kind of committing a fallacy here, but I wonder if I will find that kind of, you know, I'll feel that like that'll be cheaper because of this, you know?
Yeah.
It's not a genre of game that I tend to go for. You know, like, you know, people call this like a 3D Castlevania game or whatever, but I didn't play the actual 3D Castlevania game that they made. You know,
the Nintendo 64 one.
Well, okay, so any of them. I was thinking specifically of Lords of Shadow, but also, you know, not Harmony of Dissonance, because that was one of the Game Boy Advance ones. That was okay. No, but it like any of them. Lament of Innocence, yeah, that, or any of those. Like, you know, so it's not a genre that I get into, but just for some odd reason, it just speaks to me in this really, you know, fundamental way.
It's not an odd reason.
I have a hard time.
Show.
I have a hard time with you know, honestly, a God of War. Like, the way that they go about making the combat interesting in those games is by introducing a level of complexity that I can't really deal with. Whereas this one, it does it by introducing a level of precision and practice that I'm not any better at it, but it makes me want to be better at it. Yeah. Right? It is a thing that, it makes you better. You get better at it by practicing, because it really is about skillfully executing a very limited number of actions, as opposed to like grind dudes to unlock new crazy actions that can only trigger when you have juggled 3 enemies simultaneously and you are jumping and in this mode or whatever, you know, like just like that. There was like that Spider-Man game, the good Spider-Man game.
Spider-Man
I don't
2.
remember which one. Yeah, 2 for the PS2 or whatever. The combat in that game just is what drove me away from it ultimately. Like, it was it felt really good to move around, but just the crazy combo stuff, which I feel like is what they just went whole hog with in the God of War games. And it's just like, that is not my thing, in the way that Dark Souls really speaks to just some fundamental, like, this is a video game.
Yeah. The complexity that they added was leveraging the fact that, like, you know, fast moving, very bright objects tend to be pleasing to humans. You know, like, and God of War, which we've chosen as the example of this. You know, they added visual complexity to what you were doing, and, you know, you were hitting buttons really, really fast, even if it ultimately ended up, you know, just kind of like, okay, you do more damage when you do this, not you have a better chance of surviving.
No,
I don't know.
Right.
That may be a really dull point, but that's just my way of saying that. You know, like other games, they attempt to kind of like put makeup over their systems, whereas this doesn't. Like, the animations are very deliberate, they're very considered, they're very, you know, things happen for a reason, right? Yeah. And they don't feel any kind of need to embellish it. Whereas,
you're not gonna fight a monster that is 1,000 times the size of you the way that you do in a God of War either, because I mean, I feel like they kind of can't do that, right? Like, the way that objects interact with this world has to be trustworthy, and so they can't fake it for these big set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
In some, I mean, maybe they do later, and I'm just gonna have my foot in my mouth, but like, I think that like the dragon on the bridge is weird and janky because that's not what the game is good at.
Yeah.
Right. Is the big, amazing, awesome, epic thing like that.
There are a couple other places that where it falls apart. So it's not perfect, but it's rarer than any other game that I've played, where it's just like that commitment just literally crumbles into pieces, and it only happens a couple of times.
But it's really noticeable when it does.
That is true. Yeah, I think we have for that episode. I think we have our buddy Vivian on that episode.
Yes.
So we'll be able to talk to her about that specific instance.
Mm-hmm.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon